Yeah, dude. Have you ever pictured civilizations on other planets living in lava caves? I hadn't.
Hello and welcome to MiXEDAPES. You're my friend Ryan. Hello. So Ryan, you are the director of creative content at Telepictures. What does that mean?
That means that I choose music for Telepictures productions, for shows that we produce, as well as for other WB shows, WB animation stuff, some WB TV, CW stuff. So I'll get a call from a producer. Hey, we've got this segment coming up. We can't afford this Beyonce song. What you got? And I'll go, let me see what we have.
Beyonce.
Yeah, that's exactly. If we've got it, I'll shoot it over. If we don't, I call up a producer or an artist and I say, hey, let's knock out this track. That's just one example. A lot of original content that's not inspired by other artists as well. That's
Right.
really so yeah, I'm in the fortunate position of working with a ton of creative folks to create content for TV.
Yeah, cool, man.
Yeah, it is cool, especially right now for musicians. It's kind of hard to make a living, not just in the times of quarantine and whatnot, but just in general. So a lot of these cats would have been session players 30 years ago, or touring musicians out on the road making money and a living that way, and those opportunities aren't there as much. So
Right.
it's kind of a good way for them to make some coin and stay active as musicians. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's I mean, I know the original stuff is really great too, but for me, just as someone who likes silliness, the idea, like, because I've talked to you about some music, and it's like, can you just give me off the top of your head some of your favorite, like, it's not this, it's this, and the name that you or the artist came up with?
Oh, geez. Off the top of my head, that's pretty tough.
Over the next hour, if one pops in.
Sure, I'll track one down. You know, actually,
amazing. Some of them are incredible.
Oh yeah, and you got to be kind of like a little covert about it, because there's obviously legal aspects that you.
Sure, that's the whole reason for it, right?
Right, and like you have to, on the musical side, adhere to like a bunch of rules. You can like get very close, but there's specific things. You have to have different tempo, different key, like progressions can't be too similar. Melody obviously can't be totally copied or too close. So there's those considerations, but in naming too, you got to kind of be, you don't want to be like, Jack Black plays white squares. That's the name of your track or something. You got to be like a little more
white swatches.
Right. There you go. You're better at puns off the top of your head than I
am. That's great, man. So thanks for doing the show. I thought I was like, when your name came up, I knew immediately this was going to be a themed playlist that I was going to absolutely fucking dig. I knew it was going to have a lot of bass.
Yeah, a lot of funky bass.
A groove. Yeah. And when I hit play on it, it was all orchestral. And we're listening to it on the big speaker in the living room. And Lauren's like, oh, this is nice. And I said,
wait for it.
Wait for it. Yeah, absolutely. And then it got so funky so quick.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about it. The first song was Voyages by Michael Polnareff.
Yeah. And
Polnareff? Who is that guy?
I hadn't either. So I obviously, Googled him and checked him out. If you can, those listening, watching, and you, Mike, Google this guy. Amazing. Like just his look is so fantastic. He's a French artist, I guess active since like the mid 60s. This song came out early 70s. And he's got like the total glam look and like kind of like some David Bowie androgyny going, like tight curls, like crazy get up.
Tight curls? Like a perm?
Might be a perm. That makes sense.
Okay.
I forget that not all hair stuff is natural. I guess he didn't just grow like red tips either, but like super cool, funky looking dude, and like the music matches that style. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. if anybody's listening to this, just background, me and Ryan have been friends since high school.
Yeah.
And I would say the majority of my life playing guitar was either in the same house or in the same room as Ryan holding a bass guitar.
Right.
Which is pretty cool.
It is cool. I mean, I can't remember if we first became friends because of music or because of sports. Like we both had and have a major interest in each of those. And when we were younger, we were actually, good at sports.
I don't remember how we started hanging out in high school.
I don't either.
We just started, it was, I think it was just, we were both, we could both run fast and you could swim and throw a football. And the next thing I knew, we were just shooting hoops in your cul-de-sac. And I was like,
right.
I think Ryan's my friend.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I remember it happening. And then quickly after that, we were in a band, my first band ever.
My first band ever.
Was that really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's surprising. I mean, I guess I knew that, but like, you've been playing for.
Well, Ivan was the first drummer I ever knew. That's why he was the drummer.
Right. I guess you were on the move so much because like you were the only one who like knew how to play. Like Mansfield could play a little bass here and there, but like
he was
the rest of us were just like.
Sure.
What's that?
I said Mansfield. He knew music for sure.
Totally. He totally did. I'm probably like underselling his abilities because I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, I had only been playing guitar for a little while at that point. But yeah, I was just always like, I had a little acoustic guitar that I fucking beat the hell out of.
Yeah.
And then someone was, I think for me, it was someone was like, hey, you're pretty good. I was like, what? Oh, everybody needs to hear me then. So I got an electric guitar and played it really loud.
And we did, yes.
It wasn't that good. Looking back,
that was fine. It was great.
It was fun as hell.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, like
being in a band.
I think the biggest testament to how fun that was is that we would go to Ivan's house in the dead of fucking summer in Santa Clarita. It was 110 degrees out with no air conditioning, and there's a dead rat in that wall that summer. Do you remember that? And it just stunk up his whole room smelled like.
I do not remember that.
You not remember that?
I remember that.
That's how fun it was. You don't even remember the dead rat, 110 degrees tank when rocking out in his bedroom. That was just fine. It didn't matter because we were messing around playing music.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Silver 17.
That was it.
Oh, the worst band name.
Terrible.
Oh.
Terrible.
I think it was like before Blink 182 as well.
No, I don't think so.
No. It was like the same. It was the exact same.
Yeah. And there was another like Sum 41. Sum 41.
Oh yeah. So it's just like it felt that in the moment. That's so funny. I don't remember thinking much about that at all.
No, I don't. I think we were 17 and you picked Silver, and then there it was. I think that was the extent of the.
It was like
process.
What's your band's name? Oh, it's a placeholder. Looking for something better. I've spent 30 years trying to think of a cool band name. It's never.
I know, and then typically they land on other projects, as evidenced by MiXEDAPES.
Cool. So this first song, God, I get off track quick. It's great.
Yeah.
Voyages.
Yeah.
So good. Where did you find it?
So
how do you hunt down music for a playlist?
Well, so for this one, I loved the opportunity to do this because I was thinking of a whole bunch of different directions I could have gone with this. At first, I was thinking of researching where samples to famous 90s hip hop tracks came from. That's a good one for someone in the future to do.
Someone better jump on that.
Some of them are super obvious. Some of them are a little bit more obscure. I actually, in the process of doing that and crossing over to this, discovered that a few of these had been sampled after I had picked them, which was kind of interesting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But so starting there and then just kind of like going through that, and then got into like, how funk and hip hop were so closely linked, and disco and hip hop kind of melded at one point. And then I was like, what about like some of this French, Belgian kind of jazz, funk, soul stuff? What about that? So then I just kind of explored.
That's a lot of words.
But that's really what it is. I mean, it's
yeah.
It's like, French Belgian funk, but with, you know, jazz elements.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I started just kind of targeting some of that music and just trying to find some. And I went through a bunch of Spotify playlists that other people had made, and then bounced over to YouTube. And then from there was just like reading up on like certain artists like Paul Nuroff. I want to say Paul Nuroff, but Paul Nuroff, this first guy. And then just like kind of bouncing around and reading their Wikipedia pages and who they played with and who they were influenced by. And then just kind of kept stumbling on different artists. Because once I started, outside of the fourth track, the Herbie Hancock track,
Right. Watermelon Man, right.
which like is just, which I have a great little story about that when we get to that one that I didn't.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Yeah, exactly.
Coming up later.
Yeah, because I've been a fan of that song forever, and then I learned something interesting about it. But anyway, outside of that song, they're all pretty rare. I mean, I guess this guy Michael, or it's probably Michel Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna mispronounce his name differently every time I say it.
Oh yeah, there's no A.
No, so Michel, that makes more sense. Anyway, lost the train of thought, but that's okay.
He's a French guy who could fucking jam the funk out of some stuff.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I thought it was a great opener. It's like what I love about this exercise is like I said, I knew you would like really like be thoughtful about it.
Yeah.
And when it like it swells in the play, I was just like, oh.
I'm glad you picked up on it, because I did put like, after I chose my 6 songs, like it was great because you used to do this with like mixtapes all the time. That's the whole point. Is like you would move things around and order them because you get like that. You try to get that perfect flow to a playlist. So it's an exercise. Like, I mean, I make playlists all the freaking time at work, but not to move and flow this way. It was a good fun exercise.
It's interesting that you can tell a story in so many different ways, and you can be a storyteller by like making a playlist, which I really find exciting. I think that's why I love this so much. Is
totally.
Yeah, it reminds me of like for there was a time there, and it probably still happens now, but like when the iPad, or not the iPad, the iPod first like blew up.
Yeah.
And like, do you remember there was that moment where all you wanted was like a CD player in your car?
Yeah.
And like almost overnight, it was like, I don't want it. I just want a hole.
Yeah.
Put a wire in and then play my 1,000 songs that I like off of.
Yeah.
Going on road trips or even just driving around town to places, it was so easy. Like you would pick a song and then hand it to someone else to like pick the next song.
Right.
It was like honestly, that's sort of the genesis of like mixtapes. And it's like most like beginning forms was, it's just so fun to like pick a song, and as you're listening to it, you think like, what would be a good song to hear next?
Right.
Like, I'm so like honed in on that.
Yeah, I remember that from like all the road trips we would take, mostly to Vegas at the time, but like just doing exactly that, like in like really like trying to find that perfect track while your buddy's track is winding down and like the pressure is on because like you're in a car with 4 other, you know, audiophiles.
I mean,
you're just like into it, and you're just like, oh god, what am I?
I guess I'll just pick a Radiohead song.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it was great, and it led right into a song called "Wake the Monster" by Big Julian, and what is the other thing? And his All-Star.
And his All-Star. Yeah, I couldn't find much info on this guy. First of all, the name just jumped out to me. Wake the Monster. I thought that was just fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to, in some way, incorporate that into something I do at some point. But like one of the overall themes, besides just like the style of the tracks on the playlist, is that they kind of all go through their own journey. Like not just throughout the playlist, but like within the songs themselves. Like this song is 2 minutes and 30 seconds long, and it feels like it tells a full story in that time. So
and bangs.
And totally bangs. Yeah. Comes out the gate with that like cool guitar lick. I think I'm remembering correctly because I don't I've only heard most of these songs the 5 times I've listened to them in the last 2 days, but I think this is the one that opens with that guitar lick, and then the bass comes in and is really pumping. And then there's like this breakdown of like 45 seconds where it just goes off into this like completely different like jazz atmosphere with keys.
Meanwhile, in a different song.
Yeah. So it was just, this one just felt like a whole journey within itself, and yeah, great track.
A great second song.
I couldn't find out much about this guy, Big Julian and his All Stars. Oh wait, can I do this while we're talking? You disappear, but here you
go. I don't think the 3 people watching this are going to be curious that you're doing research, conversation.
Right on, they're okay with this. Yeah. So okay, yeah, he was also a French musician, and this track was from 1970. So right around the same time, probably rolled with the same crew as Michel.
Yeah, probably shared a spliff at some point.
Exactly, or something much stronger.
Well, in French, a spliff is a needle.
Oh, okay.
That's just something an idiot would say.
Sounds like the proper translation.
Cool. So I kind of want to get into Watermelon Man, Sign of the Zodiac by the South Suburban. What was that? South Suburban Electric
Strings. Now, when you try to Google that, good fucking luck, man. You start off South Suburban Electric. Yeah. Anyway, it's not the easiest name to Google. It's not kind in that regard. But I couldn't find out much info on them, but felt like at this point in the playlist, you kind of wanted to dial it back a little bit. This one was like a little slower, a little more psychedelic. It reminded me a lot of just like that Summer of '69 kind of sound. And for some reason, and I went and I listened to this after, I mean, I guess it makes sense. It came out the next year, but I listened to this after, and I was like, why does this remind me of the Donovan song Mellow Yellow so much? And when I listened to Mellow Yellow, I was like, because usually I can be kind of decent at connecting like songs like that. They must be in like the same key, these two, because like this kept making me think of that song. And I went and listened to Donovan's song before we started chatting. I was like, I don't even know why that kept coming. But anyway, maybe it just evokes that same kind of like just chill, mellowed out vibe. It felt like a good third track before dipping into the 6-minute odyssey that came next.
The Watermelon Man is, and we have just officially jumped to the Watermelon Man portion of the conversation. That is one of the song I have. I can't wait to hear your story about it, but that song is one of those where it is impossible not to have a strong opinion on that song.
Yeah,
it's the overarching theme that repeating thing that happens for the first. It either makes you want to throw the speaker out.
Yes.
Of the apartment.
This is part of the reason I chose that song.
You wanted to test people.
I wanted to like talk about that instrument because I find it to be such a unique instrument for that reason. Like it's such a unique sound, and it sounds like you hear it in a ton of like French music, but you hear it in like Brazilian samba music. I think it's actually a Brazilian instrument. It's called I want to get this right. Anyway, I'll look it up while I continue talking about it. But it sounds like an orangutan or like a jungle animal or like that kind of vibe. You actually, it's a small drum, and you play it with a cloth. You put the cloth inside the drum, and you move the cloth around.
You clean it.
Yeah, you basically you clean the inside of the drum, and it goes. All right, let me look up what that is real quick, and you can continue asking me.
Google, what the fuck is that sound in Watermelon Man?
Yeah. It's called a cuica.
Cuica?
Cuica. Yeah, it's a Brazilian drum. So
I love that you clean it to make music.
Yeah, you clean the inside of it. you can play the outside of it too. There you are. But yeah, a cuica. And it's just like a small drum, and so somebody for 6.5 minutes was going probably like dirty, but
it's spotless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is that the story?
No, that's not the whole story.
I was
I
like,
was just going off
interesting.
off of what you were saying, because it can be polarizing, because that's a weird sound that people like. It can be a little grating if you're not really into the vibe, and then it goes for 6.5 minutes basically.
Yeah, I would say if that song was 5 seconds longer, I couldn't listen to it.
Right. It's a tough one, but then like the musicianship on that track is so freaking amazing. Herbie Hancock's a god, so like I've always loved it. That sounds never bugged me for whatever reason. Like I dig it, so that was fine. But the story I learned about that song is Herbie Hancock. That was on Headhunters, which is like one of his seminal albums. It came out in '73. In 1962, he did a recording of that. That's actually a jazz standard, as in like people just like sit down and play that tune. It's like freaking classic.
Turns doing solos over it.
Right, exactly. And he's playing. It's more in blues style, like blues jazz piano. It's like a completely different track. You'd really like it. I mean, I have it up, but I'll send it to you after this.
So
but like,
that's an early favorite for your honorable omissions.
Right. Yeah.
Portion of the playlist.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because yes, but it wouldn't even fit the vibe of the other ones. It's so different. It's crazy. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that you revisited that song a decade later.
And it's iconic.
And it's totally iconic. And you know, dipping into it and researching the original version, like that was iconic at the time too. It was like an instant classic. So to revisit your own track and change it that much, it's kind of cool. It kind of shows his evolution and like the evolution of sound in that one song a little bit.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Not many people like.
I've never heard that before.
I had
never. That's I can't wait to go and listen to that now.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's great.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
There's a reason to do this.
Yeah. No, it's great, man. I mean, I haven't had like a really good reason to seek out different styles. And like I said, like part of the fun part of it was I didn't know what my playlist was going to be at first, or what style. So it was fun to like run through a bunch of different options too. So I was considering, outside of the sampling one that I mentioned earlier, like just like 80s, like the cheesiest 80s like pop rock ballads, like kind of like yes, dude, yes, that was the first one. Richard,
what was this? I said it, now I can't. Now it's.
I was singing it earlier because that was going to be the first one on the list.
Son of a bitch. No, this is great radio. Just both of us thinking.
Just losing our minds that we can't remember it because I was just thinking of it.
I'm just gonna Google it really quick.
Do it, yeah. And
Richard Marx with an X.
Yeah.
I'll be right here waiting for you. And he also did Hold On to the Night.
So that guy is like a prolific songwriter. I had no idea. So he put out like his own album or albums and had like that one massive hit. But I went to this ASCAP event. For folks who don't know, that's like, there's performance rights organizations that help musicians track their royalties. ASCAP is one of them, one of the major ones in the States.
That's good.
Yeah. Shout out, my PRO. Yeah. That ad revenue is going to be rolling in, Mike.
I think I've made 8 cents in my life. So, pretty sweet.
Not bad. Hey, you've made money as a working musician.
That's correct.
That is not easy to do these days.
Yep.
Anyway, so I went to an event of theirs, and he turned out to be one of like the guest speakers, or like featured speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really weird because I didn't know his work outside of like those tracks, which I have like such a crazy memory of when they came out when I was like 8 or 7 or 8, and they just like, for whatever reason that stuck with me. But people in that room who are mostly songwriters, not musicians, to see him speak were like, this was their idol, man. Like he was like their god, and he got into talking a bit, and like he had a really interesting story that I didn't know. And I won't go on forever about Richard Marx. I like that this is the left turn we
I think most people are tuning in to hear about Richard Marx, if I know anything about the Mixtapes audience.
Yeah. Yeah, they want to know this. This is gold. Anyway, he got up and he was like this phenom at like 17, songwriter, and like was writing songs with Lionel Richie like before he was even 20 years old, and like writing big hits with big artists, and has had a massive career writing songs.
So he's one of those guys when you look at who's the guy I'm thinking of, like Babyface, where you're like, oh yeah, Babyface, he made a lot of songs.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, because Babyface like sang a handful of songs that were good. But then you look at like #1 hits over the last 30 years, and they're like he wrote all of the music you like.
Yeah. Another great one to look up is Wayne Brady. Wayne Brady has been in on so many popular song writing sessions. Like, yeah, it's
Wayne Brady.
Yes.
Wayne Brady.
Oh yeah. But
can't you know anything about music apparently, because I didn't know Wayne Brady was allowed in recording studios.
But it totally makes sense, right? Like, here's this guy, like, so smart, can like come up with like catchy melodies on the fly, like is a total wordsmith, and he's going to be like in circles with musicians and other people, and it's like, hey, I can, I've gotten some stuff I've written. You get in a room and suddenly like Wayne Brady's got 20% writing credit on like a bunch of pop hits.
Fucking Wayne Brady.
Yeah, man. But it totally makes sense when you think about it. Like,
yeah, well,
you wouldn't.
Yes.
Like,
if you've ever been in a recording studio, that 100% makes sense. Because so much of it is people sitting around thinking about how much money they're wasting by not recording something right at that second. If you have a guy in there that's like, what if you did? And you're like, no, that's not good. And he's like, what if you did? And then you're like, oh yeah. And then you just keep going. That is a cool energy to have in a studio. Is someone that's feeding, like keeping it fed.
Totally. I think
Brady.
That would be like such a great, I mean, to lesser degrees, obviously, we've been in on sessions like that where you're just hanging out with buddies and you're just riffing and coming up with stuff. But it would be really interesting to be in there with like a pop star who may or may not be contributing to that recipe, like, because sometimes like, my turn for my 10%.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big, crazy machine. We won't get fully into all of that, but
yeah.
But Richard Marx, Wayne Brady, ties right back into.
Could you imagine them in a room together? Be amazing.
Yeah, there's a playlist in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, someone's going to be penalized by having to make that playlist one day. Gonna come down with a hammer on someone. Herbie Hancock. That's what were we talking about? We were talking, that started with Herbie, right?
That started with Herbie. We were given the Watermelon Man story. Somehow I went back to the fun of looking into making these playlists, and that I was going to do a sampling one. I was going to do 80s ballads. We couldn't remember the 80s ballads.
That's how it came up. Yeah, because we were going to do 80s ballads.
Wayne Brady. We're on the fucking moon now. I don't know how it happened. Interesting tidbit about the moon. Sorry, because I know we're. I just learned there's lava caves on the moon. It blew my mind. It makes total sense. But have you ever envisioned lava caves on the moon?
Well, here's the thing that I'm going to be very honest about with you right now. I don't know what the moon is. No, I don't know what a lava cave is. Is that like a crater? What's a lava cave?
No, it's not a crater. It's like when the magma is so hot, but the ground above it is cooled, that there's like underground magma moving, and it forms these large tunnels. Like, I've been to one or two in Hawaii, and they're just these massive tunnels. But the way these were described, or that scientists think they exist on the moon and Mars, is that they're massive. They're like football field wide, wide, football field wide, and as tall as like the Empire State Building. Some of these things
Oh,
are.
holy fuck!
Yeah, and they got into like how future human civilizations on the moon and Mars may actually be living like a subterranean existence in these lava caves because it would provide extra protection from any incoming space debris and from the sun and other elements. Yeah, dude, have you ever pictured civilizations on other planets living in lava caves? I hadn't.
Not specifically lava caves, subterranean. Yes, of course. Not a Neanderthal. Lava caves.
Lava caves on the moon and Mars.
This is my favorite conversation I've ever had with you, Ryan.
All right, yeah, this is a pretty good one.
And we're getting it on tape.
Yes. Oh, wait, was I supposed to hit record? Shit.
Yes. That totally threw me off. All right, so now it's
Pretty
time.
mind-blowing.
Wheat October 1971 by
Yes.
Cortex.
So October, we can guess what that translates to, but I don't know any French, so I looked it up. It's the 8th of October. So we're still in that early 70s awesome time frame. This band Cortex, I'd never heard of them, looked them up. What did I find out about Cortex? Oh, they're the ones that I mentioned earlier had been sampled a bunch of times by hip hop artists. This song specifically. Yeah, exactly. Including, who did I see that I recognize? Doesn't matter. I'll remember. Wiz Khalifa was the most recent. So there you go. So this was a the Wiz Kid, as his friends call him. Yeah, as we call him.
He and his friends, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember this one. Oh, this is the one that starts with that really ethereal female vocal, and then kind of drifts off into its own different journey, and then comes back to her at the end. So I thought that was a nice. It bookended itself well and started to round out the playlist well, and wanted to bring in some sort of vocal element into the playlist, but not something that like was too prominent. And this being French and mostly oohs and ahs, I thought that fit the bill.
There was French oohs and ahs. Ooh, possible playlist name.
Oh yeah, I can think of a bunch off the top of my head.
French oohs and ahs.
French oohs and ahs.
What you had a good name for this playlist though, didn't you? Is that Funklore?
Funklore, yeah.
Tells a story told through funk.
Right? I thought that was pretty good.
No, it is great, Ryan. I'm really proud to call you my friend.
Oh, I appreciate that. You're the pun master, so I wanted to come with my best. It's not my forte, so I actually put some thought into it.
It's really, it was 100% appreciated.
Right.
And then you round it out with a banger that finishes strong on drums, which is the way I think most playlists should. You should either end strong on drums or a lot of reverb.
Right. I agree. Those are two great ways to go out, or something that somehow leads back into beginning perfectly.
So if you listen to it on repeat,
right,
it just keeps going.
Right. And this one had the cool animal sound effects, which were great. I didn't look up how he got the lion sounds, but that was a pretty unique and awesome sound I hadn't really heard before. So that drew me to it. I was debating between this one and the first track to open it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that I went with the slower open and then the more banger at the end. But just kind of a cool.
You gotta warm her up. You know what I mean?
You gotta warm her up.
Warm her up. Yeah. This guy's made a baby, so
I know what I'm talking about.
That's real advice.
I've done it right once at least.
We weren't recording when we had the egg on her face conversation earlier, which is probably for the best.
Yeah, probably.
But I really wanted to tie that back in, but no one would know what I was talking about.
Well, I do, so I appreciate the tie back.
You're welcome. This is great, man. What else is going on? So the other things that I really love getting from people is what is your sort of like recommended pairing or recommended dosage for this playlist? And because it seems pretty obvious to me the way to best listen to this playlist, but I would like to hear you explain it.
Well, I think there's several great ways you could listen to this playlist. You could really go with a nice low dose and be active or creative, or outdoors, or really engaged and have this kind of just steering you in the background.
Mm-hmm.
You could really dive deep into it. I went somewhere kind of in between. I was kind of on an evening, really hot ass week in LA kind of space, and this has kind of those tropical vibes to it, this whole playlist, and it's definitely been tropical here. It's not typically, but we've gotten our share of humidity. Yeah, it's been thick.
Awful.
Yeah, so my backyard's a little jungly, so I think I went like medium dose, and then enjoyed the backyard and my space out here.
Headphones?
I went back and forth because I've listened to it a couple of times. I listened through my speakers first, and then I listened to my phones as well. So
your cans.
My cans. Yeah.
Let's call them cans.
My sweet cans.
Yeah. Oh, sweet cans, bro. Those look so comfy.
They are pretty sweet. They're extra padded.
Yeah, you got to get a foamy can.
Yeah. Who doesn't like foamy can?
Like a Foster's.
Yeah.
And then what is the first piece of music you paid money for? And I'm surprised I don't know this.
The first piece of music I paid money for,
probably a CD, maybe a cassette.
Was it? Well, it may have been a cassette, but the way I remember it, or choose to remember it, was So Far by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I got a CD player just after my 13th birthday, and it was like a big effing deal, man. Like that was like, yeah. And when CD players were like fucking awesome.
Did you get like in the thing? Did it have detachable speakers?
No. So my dad like always played music growing up, including a ton of Crosby, Stills and Nash. So I was big into that, like that sound already. But he went with me. It was like this event that I remember, and like we got it. But he already had like a receiver and speakers and stuff. So when it came time to buy, I got that. I got Blues Traveler, whatever their first album was, because it lined up.
Maybe.
Yeah, 4 exactly. Good one. Yeah. Because it was like 1994 when this happened. That just came out. It was huge. So I got those two.
Great. So the first like new album you bought was Blues Traveler?
What? Yeah, I think so.
That's so great. That's a great album.
And then I had like, I was totally into.
And Runaround, right?
Yeah. And then there's this track called The Mountains Win Again, which is just like.
That's another banger. For sure. I said banger a lot this week.
That's all right.
If you're listening at home, why don't you make a banger counter? I'd love to see that in the comments.
12 bangers. Yeah, and then I got like a double disc of. You remember those like Beatles best of double disc, the blue one and the red one that they came out with? So I got both of those. Yeah, I had an eclectic collection, but I remember it so well. I had, of course, like Nevermind by Nirvana was around the same time, but I think the Crosby, Stills and Nash was the first one. Some of the tapes I had, if it was a tape, it was probably MC Hammer. Can't Touch This.
That's my answer to that question.
Yeah.
I went into a Tower record or whatever.
Yeah.
Birthday money.
Oh yeah.
And I strutted in and was like, in fact, I can touch that. And I will pay with cash. And I have zero regrets.
Oh yeah.
Just like an incredible album with only one song that you really could listen to.
Yeah.
There was also You've Got to Pray Just to Make It Today. That's Why We Pray.
Dude, I've got the best little tidbit about that song. Maybe this is common knowledge, but I was not good at like video games growing up. No, I wasn't good. I just didn't really have them or care that much. But I was good at like the puzzle ones, right? So my buddy had Dr. Mario. Every time I go there, they play that song. That is the background music in Dr. Mario. You've got to pray just to make it today. Do 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 do. Boo boo. It's that song, dude.
Holy shit, I never put that together.
Yeah, I don't know which came first because it could be that Hammer just covered somebody else because I know a few other tracks on that.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
But anyway, isn't that yeah? Do 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 do. Those fucking little pills dropping down.
This guy?
Mm-hmm.
I love Dr. Mario.
Oh man, loved it.
You're a doctor. You have a PhD.
Who does?
You are a Dr. Mario doctor.
Oh, I see.
I've played you in Dr. Mario, and I'm good at Dr. Mario. I felt like I held my own, but it was like
no.
It was like a 1 going against an 8 seed. Like I took a game at home, but like
yeah,
it was never in doubt. You know,
it might have been the Blazers yesterday, but
exactly. I got my 1. I hit a couple threes from the logo, and you were like, "What is happening?" And
dude,
then
so you know Dame's gonna make those, and that's fine. Like he's amazing.
this is going to be the sports section of the podcast.
But like the Lakers couldn't hit anything, man. And like they looked tight. Like Anthony Davis looked nervous in the beginning, and like I don't know. I hadn't watched any of the bubble games, only highlights before that. So that was like
that's how they played. That's basically. There were like 2 games where we kind of played good, and the rest it seemed like we phoned it in, and we just thought we'd be able to turn it on in the first game. And when we did it in the first quarter, it was panic for the next 3.
Totally, that was ugly stuff. Yeah.
It was the first time Lauren got to see me really upset about sports.
Yeah, it got you. It got me too. I was like,
you know, I'm too old now to be like stomping around, but I was definitely like, fucking sports are. I wish the bubble had popped.
You were huffing and puffing.
Yeah, I huffed and puffed. It was embarrassing. Yeah, man. Fucking Funklore. What's new? What are you listening to now? What are you listening to right now?
Oh, geez. So I've been on a Krungbin kick, as you know, for like a year. So that doesn't really count as being a recent thing, but I will preach that to any and everyone. Check out Krungbin. I love them. And they're starting to like collaborate.
Dinner party music.
Yeah. I just saw it today. Because I watched basketball again today. Thank you again for your login, because I can watch basketball on occasion now. And I skip commercials typically, but a Dos Equis commercial came on, Krungbin playing Dos Equis. I was like, those guys are mainstream. That's like the most random band to have mainstream success I can think of. So I love it. So I'm kind of following them as far as being like a fan goes, you know?
You know, sorry, that something so funny and like weird about that to me is because when we were growing up, the idea that a band that we liked would be featured on a commercial would have like made me sick to my stomach.
I know, but
now it's like you hear that someone like, I think the perfect example of that is, what is that band?
Let's go out back tonight.
Exactly. I was like, that was such a great song. And then
in bed.
I think we were hanging out, probably watching a Lakers game when that first happened, and we were all like, what the fuck is this? And then literally from that moment on, I celebrated anyone that could make money playing music, even if it went from like a weird, like just like psychedelic love song into the theme for eating a bloomin' onion.
Yeah. That was particularly egregious.
That was bad.
That was bad.
Great bass riff on that little phaser.
I mean, well, they changed the lyrics to "Let's go to Outback." Like,
I think they just sold. I don't think it was them either. I think they just sold, like, you can have this song and redo it for
yeah.
your seared steaks.
Oh yeah, it was a we call it a re-record. So they get the rights to the song. They basically license the song and pay the artist and publisher a
Yeah.
fee to re-record the song.
It's like when I think AM 180 by Granddaddy like was trying to sell me a Civic years ago, and I was like,
Oh, I remember. Well, that moment hit me as like, okay, people our age are in position now to be making those music choices. And like, I mean, I guess I am in spots without really thinking about it much, but not as recognizable and visible as like big ads.
right.
So like when I saw that one, I was like, okay, one of my contemporaries, someone our age who grew up listening to like weird indie rock is like now in a position to be like, I know a track that we could license for a reasonable fee that people will bang to without, oh, it's catching on the bang thing.
I know, you know, people that are in the age range to buy this car, I know a song that they like.
Right. Totally. It's
So
kind of
yeah, because before then it's always just been classic rock or like orchestral nonsense trying to sell me a Civic.
right. And it all boils down
One Civic.
it all boils down to who they're targeting.
Yeah.
Like who's going to be buying this product? What song do they recognize? Anyway.
You know what?
What?
I think we should go to Outback tonight.
I don't know how that idea got in your head, Mike.
You know,
Maybe we could have a Dos Equis while we're there.
oh my God. Capitalism has ruined everything.
It's kind of strange.
It gave us so many great things. Like, look at this guitar I've got.
I know. I got one.
Money.
I know.
Yeah, look at your guitars.
Just that we won't go there. This has been such a nice conversation. I'm not gonna get into that.
You're not gonna kick your desk.
Nope. Nope.
Good.
I'm not gonna go to bed angry at the world.
Just
state of the world. Yeah.
That's how I sleep 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, what a long day. And everything you look at the news and you're like, yep, everything's still broken. All right.
Yeah.
I love my fiance, and then you're like, all right, good night.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I gotta not bring the phone to bed. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Man,
Mine goes into this like weird black and white mode
yeah.
at 10:30 that I set it to.
Yeah.
So it's just like more obnoxious to look at. It's just like, stop looking at this.
Yeah. Stop. I am telling you to put me down. I'm doing everything I can.
Yeah.
But it's hard. We're addicted. But I will say, when I read before bed, I feel much better. I got a book to recommend you. Yeah.
What are you reading? People want to know.
I just started The Overstory. I can't remember who it's by, but it's a New York Times bestseller. You read the first 3 pages and you're just like, this is going to be epically magnificent. And it is epic. It's like 600 pages. So it'll be a long one for me, but it's basically telling different vignettes, but different stories of different families. I'm only on the first chapter, so I can only imagine this is what it's going to do throughout the whole book, but from the perspective of different trees. And so it like gives the history of the tree in the region. Trees, yes. The Overstory. Yeah. The Overstory, man.
The tree guy.
Tree guy. Total tree guy.
All right.
So there you go. Overstory. So I just started reading that, and before that I finished one called The Darwin Conspiracy, which was like easy page turner. I may have mentioned to you before.
Yeah, I think that. Okay.
Which might be why you've heard it recently, because I freaking love that book. I mean, it wasn't like mind-blowing literature, but it was very entertaining. Quick page turner, just kind of like a good book.
Tight.
Yeah.
Tight.
2 Rex.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming on. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's like how we normally hang, except I just try to be a little bit more tuned in and remember to look at you instead of playing music while we're talking.
Usually this happens and we both have a guitar or something on and we're looking at our second screen.
Yeah.
This just helps break up the day a little bit so it feels like you haven't just sat in the same chair for 10 straight hours.
That's exactly right.
That's all I do. As
I know.
Work. Brutal.
Yeah. This was fun, man. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thanks for doing it. I'll probably see you on Zoom tomorrow.
I would imagine so.
Later, dude.
Later, bud.
Bye.